My name is Olivia Haynes, and I am the Managing Director for the Bernstein Center for Leadership and Ethics here at Columbia Business School. And on behalf of the students, our celebrities of the Student Leadership and Ethics Board, our alumni, faculty, as well as staff associated with our center, I am so excited to welcome you all tonight to the Botwinick Prize in Business Ethics, honoring this year's noteworthy recipient, Ed Bastian, CEO of Delta Airlines. The Botwinick Prize ceremony has been a hallmark event at CBS for 35 years, representing the school's long-standing commitment to ethical leadership in business. And for the Bernstein Center, this premier program helps us live out our mission to empower current and next-generation business leaders to lead with their values and a human-centric perspective, especially in today's connected yet diverse global economy. And tonight, Ed joins an exceptional community of past honorees whose authentic and visionary leadership styles and socially conscientious approaches to business continue to inspire students, academics, and industry practitioners, much like the namesake of our prize, Benjamin Botwinick. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for tonight, the amazing faculty director of the Bernstein Center, Professor Modupe Akinola. Many of you are already familiar with Professor Akinola, as she is one of the most sought-after professors at CBS, teaching the main leadership course for all incoming students. Her research on stress, performance, and diversity in organizations has landed her in numerous media outlets, including as a principal expert on the Nat Geo series Limitless with Chris Hemsworth, where she casually helped Thor handle how to turn his stress into a performance enhancer. And additionally, many of you have heard her silky smooth voice as the host of the TED Business Podcast. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Professor Akinola.
Thank you. I feel like I need to open up in a silky smooth voice or something. It is such a treat to be here and to see this incredible audience. As Olivia said, I'm Modupe Akinola. I'm the Barbara and David Zelaznik Professor of Business and the Faculty Director of the Bernstein Center for Leadership and Ethics. And I am thrilled to be here tonight to present the Botwinick Award Prize for 2024 to Ed Bastian. And so what is this prize, the Botwinick Prize? It was established by Bessie and Benjamin Botwinick, and Benjamin Botwinick was CBS class of 1926. He was a well-respected CPA at Benjamin Botwinick & Co., and he and his wife founded the Botwinick Wolfenson Foundation. And we award this prize annually to an individual or representative of a business organization exemplifying the highest standard of professional and ethical conduct, as well as ethical decision-making and leadership. And we have some past winners that we want to share with you, and we want to acknowledge all of the former recipients of the Botwinick Prize, which you see up there. And these are individuals who have not just been bystanders in terms of doing change, they've been upstanders. So many of them were ahead of their time. And we also want to take a moment to recognize not only them, but the Botwinick-Wolfenson family, because without them, we wouldn't have this opportunity to honor such incredible leaders. They're not with us, but they are here in spirit, and we're always so grateful for the generosity of CBS alums and beyond. And who are the deciders of who's going to win this? Well, students and faculty and alums and the dean's office. And we all unanimously agreed that Ed Bastian would be the recipient because of his lifelong pursuit and commitment to ethical leadership, especially during these unprecedented times. He has been a CEO at times that have been like none other. He has been a Delta leader, though, for 25 years. And he helped steer the company, and at the time, 90,000, or now, 90,000 global employees through things like, like 9/11, bankruptcy, and of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, which, as you can imagine, and as we all know, it was a unique situation, especially when you deal with airlines. What are some of the many things that he has done since he's been CEO since 2016? Well, first, I hope you checked out Fortune today, because you might have seen that Delta is, or was, or is, as of today, considered one of Fortune 100's best companies to work for, and it was the only airline on that list. Can we give him a round of applause for that, please? He has expanded the company's position as the world's most reliable airline, which I was bragging a minute ago, saying that like Delta is my preferred airline and that I'm 189,000 miles away from being a million miler. So yes, on time, amazing. But he's been people-focused, customer-focused, created a culture that's focused on both of those elements: spirit of innovation, honesty, integrity, respect, perseverance. And when he was asked to sum up his job in 5 words, here's what he said: taking care of our people. And that really reflects his leadership philosophy, that it's really based on this virtuous circle, the idea that if you take care of your people, they'll take care of your customers, whose business and loyalty allow you to reward your investors. So he does all that good stuff. And then on top of that, he's like, oh, why don't I also have a podcast? So he has a public podcast with a silky voice, I'm assuming, called Gaining Altitude, where he tackles difficult conversations about servant leadership, entrepreneurship, sustainability, mental health, DEI, all of these incredible topics that we need to talk about. But the thing that really got me, or one of the many, is that they share a large portion of their annual profits with employees, including their $1.4 billion payout this year to employees, which is so commendable. So his commitment to his stakeholders is unwavering and at the core of every decision that is made at Delta. From that, and from what we will discuss, it's clear that he is incredibly inspiring, thoughtful, and the type of leader we would all want leading the different companies that we're involved in. So with that, it is my honor to bestow the 2024 Botwinick Prize to Ed Bastian.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for that beautiful award. It's humbling when I look at the list of past recipients to think that my name is going to be included in some of the folks I know, and I know what they stand for and what they've accomplished. It's hard to believe, but it's something that I never personally accept. It's something I accept on behalf of our entire company, entire team. And Delta, we have 100,000 of the very finest aviation professionals in the world. And when, as the good professor shared my job, I tell my people that my job is actually pretty simple. My job is to take care of them, and they do all of the work. I don't know how to fly the planes. I don't know how to fix the planes. I have a hard enough time getting through the kiosk or getting the app to work right or getting on the plane. And then when I'm on the plane, forget it's a mess because everybody takes pictures and everything. I tried not to hold up takeoff time, delivery time to make sure we arrive on time. But it's something that is special about our company. It's something that's in the DNA about people and service. And the airline industry is a really, really tough industry. It's a lot of distractions. It's a very expensive industry. Those planes, they're flying all over the world with hundreds of people on them, the geopolitical challenges that we face, the economic volatility that we faced over time. It really requires you to step back and say, how does Delta do it different? And the thing that Delta stands out in my humble opinion, is our people are focused on you, our customers. They're not focused on themselves, they're focused on serving you. And whether it's the highest reliability in the industry or making certain that you feel welcomed, you feel cared for, and you experience an elevated opportunity when you're on board. We want you to feel better when you're leaving our planes than when you came on those planes, because it's very much about the experience is why customers choose Delta. So whether you're in our lounge, whether you're in our airport, whether you're on board, whether you're online, wherever you are, we want you to feel like you matter to us, and that's what our team does. And I'm just a lucky recipient of all of their great work that allows honors like this to come about. So it's a great honor. It's humbling to receive. I look forward to talking more about that with you, Professor, and it's just really great to be here. I want to thank the student leadership that decided the award for me and for Delta, and I want to thank all of you, because I know many of you came out because you are Delta loyalists, you are Delta customers, and you're the reason we be. Thank you.
We're going to go over there. I'll take the far chair, and you'll take the close one, and we'll make it happen. So many questions, so many good questions. One of which is, all right, so you're like superstar CEO right now and all that. And I say superstar CEO because I did ask some of your people, what are some words you might use to describe Ed? And they said superstar. And I was like, I've done superstar. Well, what do you mean superstar? And some of the descriptors that I heard from not just today, but other leaders, because I do my due diligence, call you visionary, humble, resilient, bold, and one that I really liked was selectively stubborn. So one question I have for you
Get
is...
that from my wife?
Yeah. So one question I have for you is, what was your journey getting to this position, and especially what were some impactful or pivotal moments growing up that you would attribute to you being here now?
That's a great question. So I'm a New Yorker, so first and foremost. So coming back home, which always makes me feel great. And I grew up in upstate New York, Poughkeepsie, New York. Do we have any upstaters here in the room? I see some hands go up. Thank you. It's good to see you. And I grew up in a household of 9 kids. I was the oldest of 9 growing up. And my dad was a dentist, and he had his dental practice in our house. And my mom worked for him as the hygienist, and my grandmother lived with us to help take care of this brood of 9 kids. And it was a relatively small house, so it wasn't that big a house. And so my goal in leadership was getting myself out of that situation, but I'm sure I learned a lot of leadership lessons, including there has to be a better way to travel. I never was on an airplane until I was 25 years old. Wow. And so when I graduated from school, came to work here in New York City with Pricewaterhouse. I started as an accountant, as Benjamin Botwinick did, this is interesting. I was 25 before it was a business trip a couple years into my career. It was my first airplane flight. The only time we traveled, my parents would put us all into a station wagon, and we'd go on a spring trip to Florida. It'd be around this time of year. Around Easter, the kids would be off, and we'd go down, we'd drive right through the night, 24 hours, and you wouldn't stop until you got there, and drive back 2 weeks later, and all the kids, all you could bring was what my mother let us, which was whatever you can fit in your pillowcase. And that was how you traveled. And so again, I thought there had to be a better way to travel than this.
Yes.
But I really do look back at my upbringing. I look back about kind of where I'm from, that kind of formed who all of us are. I think we all can relate to our roots. And I always wanted to do something that would honor my family, something that would make a difference in life. You know, we work way too hard to sit back and say that we just kind of got through the day. This isn't work, this should be passion, it really should be. And it's what motivated me and drove me. And I started at my career as an accountant. I made partner at an early age and said there has to be more to it than that, and there was. And PepsiCo recruited me, and I went to work for Pepsi and Frito-Lay down in Dallas for about 7 years. And I was on airplanes all the time then, and someone said, you should work for an airline, you're on airplanes so much. And ironically enough, Delta called me 6 months later, and I joined there in '98, and 25 years later, I'm here. And it's been just a love, just the joy of my life. As hard and as challenging, as difficult as you can imagine the airline world is, it's also a place where I've poured more of myself into, and our people pour more of themselves into to make a difference in our world. And the one thing that we all learned from the pandemic is that people need to be together. Mm-hmm. You know, we can't be on video. We can't live in the virtual world. You know, those are transactions. We're about relations. We're about understanding. We're about making the world a safer, better, more connected place. And that's what airlines do. Mm. Airlines bring people together and they make the world smaller. And I love someone taught me many, many years ago, it's really hard to hate someone that you know, once you really know them and understand them. And the distance that COVID created allowed for that hate and that divisiveness and that angst to foster. And why I think demand for travel has come back so strongly is people are wanting to reunite and connect and have a better life for the future. And I get to be a part of that.
Now, since you said you had 8 siblings, and I shared some words that some employees would use to describe you, what words might your siblings use to describe you?
Well, I was the oldest, remember. And there were 9 of us, and my mom, we had 2 sets of twins, so there were only 11 years. So when I was 5 years old, we had 6 kids. I was the oldest. So it was, yeah, it's the only thing we knew. So it is what it was. I used to babysit my baby twin sisters. I would put nail polish on their nails and then tell them they can't move for 2 hours or else their nails are going to fall off.
Oh, smart.
And then I'd leave and go somewhere else.
Nice.
So no, they would have some pretty good stories about me.
You're avoiding the words, but I'll put some in your mouth. They'd call you smart to have them, sitting there, and bossy, probably bossy big brother,
absolutely.
which is a piece of this. Now but Delta's an 100-year-old company.
Yeah.
And so that means that there's tons of traditions that probably existed before you came.
Yep.
And I'm curious about what some of those traditions were that you've kept or changed, given you are focused on the people-centric aspect of things.
Well, we're turning 100 next year.
Okay, turning 100.
So it's not forerun it. We still have a few more months to go.
Okay.
But we will be the first airline in this country turning 100 years old, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
And so we're gonna have a wonderful year next year celebrating that. But the founder of Delta Airlines, a fellow by the name of Mr. Woolman, C.E. Woolman, he founded us. It was actually a crop duster in Macon, Georgia, that then moved to Monroe, Louisiana, to spray for bugs. And from there, we were born. They eventually started to put mail on the planes, and they eventually started to put people on the planes, and one thing led to another. And he had a saying back then, which I think is so profound, and it speaks to what some of the words you were using to describe our company. He said, if you take care of your people, they will take care of the customers, who will then reward the shareholders with their loyalty and their investment. And that's the virtuous circle that we like to live and we like to invest in. So I really do think about our people all the time so that they can be thinking about the customers all the time and how we can continue to better serve. Our logo, our motto at Delta, which we started using about 15 years ago, is keep climbing. And while we've climbed pretty far, we're never going to drop that, because you can always climb higher. You can always strive for better. And you always, the thing about Delta, since we've been at the top of the industry for quite a number of years, people say, well, when is it someone else's turn? Well, I'm never going to let that be someone else's turn. It's always our turn. We always get a chance to prove it every single day. It's that next level of success. Yesterday really doesn't matter. It's only today and tomorrow that you can think about. You can't do anything about yesterday.
So I teach the core required leadership course, and we do talk about culture and the importance of having a CEO who has a strong vision, who really does allow that culture to come to fruition. What else do you do to make sure that among your team that culture permeates? Or are there any programs or things that you've instituted or implemented that has allowed the culture to flourish that you want?
Well, we're very visible. We're very accessible. I try to be accessible myself. One of the things that, it's a silly little thing, but my email is something that the world knows, and I never change it. I received advice when I became CEO. They said the one thing you have to do is you're already too public. You've got to get an email that people don't know. They'll be bothering you morning, noon, and night. That they don't know you. You'll never have any privacy. You'll never have any. Your cell number is too public. You just got to find your kind of a private identity so you can shield yourself a little bit from what's going on around you. And I said, thank you very much, but I never did that. Because I want to know what's going on. I want our people, I want our customers, I want our community to be able to reach me. And I get thousands of notes. By the way, I get thousands of challenging situations. I get thousands of wonderful, you won't believe what your person did. And people over time get to know who you are, and they get responses. And I see every one of those. Now, I've got a team of people that work around me that help manage that, but everything comes to me first, and then it gets distributed out. So I always know what's happening in our business. And that, I think, is one of the most powerful ways that you can take someone that could be working a frontline job in Boise, Idaho, and still feel like they know, and they'll come up to me, they'll meet me someplace, and they'll say, I remember I emailed you, I was having a challenge with the situation where I needed help with this, and you got it for me, thank you. And you talk about how culture then starts to revolve around that knowledge and that sense of accessibility and visibility from the top down. So it's a very hands-on style. It's a very visible style of leadership that we deploy. I probably spend at least 50% of my time out of our offices, out in, whether it's I'm out speaking, I'm out with our people, I'm out doing things with our community, because that's where I need to be.
Please don't email him a million times after this, adding thousands of emails talking about, can I get a job at, no, I'm just kidding. But you mentioned that people email you with challenges, and we just kind of emerged from the challenge of COVID-19. There are continual challenges. Who do you turn to, and who do you go to get guidance on which path to take and all that?
Yeah. Well, COVID-19 by far was the biggest challenge, hopefully, that we'll ever experience in our lifetimes. You never know, but let's pray that be the case. It was a really hard situation because there wasn't a lot of people you could turn to. No one knew what was going on, and anyone that claimed they knew what was going on just turned out to be they were just making stuff up, right, and creating news for themselves. So I think that it forced everyone to kind of look from within to see who you were. And I had a particularly personal situation because my mom died the last week of February. It was right up here actually at Columbia Presbyterian. And I think she died of COVID because the doctors never could really, she died suddenly. And she was 84 years old in good health up till the kind of the last couple months. And so I lost, and she was my mentor and my best, certainly my best supporter. My dad died young in life, and so she raised mostly, the family herself. And when she had died, and then 2 weeks later, the world stopped because of COVID. I'd lost my business. We were doing great. My business was gone. My mom was gone. I felt pretty sorry for myself. I think it's a pretty normal reaction to feel down. And I gave myself about 10 days to kind of pity myself and say, well, where am I going and what's happening? And then realize that, no, this is not about you. This is about our company, about our world, and you can make a difference. And there's never going to be a more important time to make a difference than right then. And I realized it was a blessing, not a burden, to be in that situation. It was a privilege to lead. And there was never in our 100-year history a more important time to be sitting in that seat than now. And I don't know why I was selected, but it was mine at that point to run with. And so every day I had to give myself pep talks, kind of, okay, this is going to be, really important stuff we're going to do today. We're going to make a difference. And you continue to develop that muscle and that leadership style. And people start to follow you and you start to push through. And that's what COVID felt like. We were all pushed through. And you needed to have people at the front that were kind of trailblazing and making the way. And fortunately, I had the opportunity to be one of those people. And before you knew it, the momentum started to come back. And whether it was in Washington, whether it was in international space, people started to listen to us, and people started to get out of their homes and started to experience life. And the vaccines arrived, and more steps. Every step along the way, we got a little stronger. And you look back now, you can't stop it. Travel is so far back; it's way above anything pre-pandemic levels of travel. And I think it's going to continue to grow and accelerate because once you take away something that people value, and when it comes back around, people aren't going to let you take it again from them.
I'm sorry to hear about your mother.
Thank you.
And, when you've been talking about this experience, be it the 10 days that you needed to take, be it just always being on, the thousands of emails you get, I'm curious about what you do to de-stress. I study stress, and so I want your tips on what you do to manage this role.
I, you know, I kind of thrive on it. I mean, it's weird. I mean, you kind of, I mean, if I was in a kind of a day job, I mean, it's just, I think I'd crumble and die. I kind of live on the energy of the moment a little bit. So it's good for me. I mean, that's, I guess, how I'm wired. Uh, I've learned in the last year what the best stress reliever there is. That's I've got a grandson, and he's 15 months old. And when I'm with him, the cares of the world just dissipate. And I just focus. And you're all way too young, and you're probably not even starting families yet, but someday do it for your parents, and they're waiting. I had to wait until I was in my 60s to have him arrive. And he's the best. He's the best. And you can see the future, right?
Yeah.
So that's how, I mean, that's one of the things. Unfortunately, my daughter lives in Atlanta, and I get to see him. So we spend some quality time just playing and having fun. But, I really genuinely enjoy being in the moment and people around me. And yeah, I like to golf. I got a home in Florida. I like to go and on the beach. I was on the beach yesterday down there. And I mean, that helps too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I enjoy where I'm at. I'm really comfortable in my skin.
I mean, it also sounds like the role, the job, the people, it's in alignment with who you are.
Yeah.
So that idea of can you find, I'm saying this because many of our students here are interested in hoping that one day they will be CEOs. And
Yeah.
so knowing the importance of alignment with your values, your interests, who you are, and the role is critical. And yes, thank you. It is normal that stress is enhancing. That's a piece of what I study. So we have all risen to the occasion under stress, and you're demonstrating that that is an important aspect of stress, not just the negative side of things. But I also think it's stressful sometimes when you have particular values that might be misaligned with society's values. And I know that in 2019, you all split from the NRA. A quote that I heard was, "Your values were not for sale." And then, before that, you quit Delta over strategic differences. So you've had some breakups, is what I'm trying to get at. So can you tell me more about those breakups or even a recent issue that tested your values?
Yeah. Well, your values are everything, and we started talking about culture, but culture really it's the manifestation of who you are, the values that you display. Our company has really strong values, and I encourage all of you as you're looking towards your future and your future employers and what you want to do, make sure that you're working with people that you trust, making sure that you have people you have confidence in, for a company you believe in, a mission that you believe in, that you see the value it creates for others. So you're not doing it just for yourself, you're doing it for some bigger purpose. And that just doesn't, I think unfortunately in our world we think that means, you got to do something philanthropic or something, a do-gooder, whatever that means. No, and you do it, the contributions you give out through your job and through your performance and the support you provide can make a huge difference as well in our world. And back in 2017, I had been CEO for a year, and we were never with the NRA. I mean, it was not a break really. I didn't realize we had a discount that NRA members could access, and it was only for their convention once a year, and it was a very small little thing. But when the year was 2017, and I'll never forget, it was Valentine's Day, and there was a shooting in Parkland High School in South Florida, outside of Miami. And it was in a freshman high school, freshman class, and there were, I think, roughly 15 kids that were killed that day. And the NRA, because all the gun lobbyists, they stiffened their back at those times. They made some pretty caustic remarks about crying mothers and sensationalizing this and making this, something that it's not. Just hearing those words, it just so disgusting. I can remember hearing that and say, how could anyone say that? And I had a personal story, because I had mentioned I've got a home in Florida, and my youngest was living there in our home down there. She had moved, and my wife and daughter moved down there. And my daughter actually knew one of the kids that was killed. So a friend group and whatnot. And she was a freshman at the time, the same age group of when this happened. And the next day, I started getting emails from the kids at Parkland saying, Mr. Bastian, do you know your company has a discount for NRA members? And I said, how could that be? I never heard of this. And so I looked into it. We went on the NRA website, indeed. There's like a 10% or 5% discount to go to their annual convention. And Delta was like written, it looked like kid really, I mean, just stupid. It wasn't branded right. It was just awful. I said, we're not doing that. And so I immediately told our team to cancel it. And we canceled it immediately, that discount, because I can't have anyone thinking there's any affiliation with this organization. On the same token, we were also in the midst of it was legislative season in the state of Georgia. And there was a very large fuel tax credit that the state was looking to pass to support Delta, because for some weird reason, the fuel taxes that we pay in Georgia are higher than many other higher tax states. It just, I don't know how it got there. And they were going to lower the taxes so that the hometown airline wouldn't be penalized, and it would allow us to drive even more flying through Georgia. And it was large. It was about $40 million of annual savings that we were going to receive. And so the moment I announced that we're no longer doing this with the NRA, the next call I got was from the governor of the state saying, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm canceling this. He said, well, you know how important the NRA is as a lobbying machine to the Republican, because the state house was Republican, is Republican. And they're all up in arms, and they want us to vilify you. And I can't now sign this thing that the state legislature had already approved because you did this. It's going to cost you $40 million a year. Can't you find some other way to do this? And I said, no. And by the way, you know how much money I went and researched later? We got like $10,000 of sales. So for something that was $10,000 of sales or $40 million of annual savings, they said, are you serious? You're going to jeopardize that? I said, yes, I will. And that's when I said, our values are not for sale. That's not who we are. And you can keep your money. And, but we're going to stand with our kids. We're going to stand with our community. And we're going to do what's right, because that's our values. We have no choice but to do that. And the governor was really, I mean, he understood, but he was still very upset. So the next thing I said to him, in fact, I was with the governor the prior weekend. I was at an event in Savannah, Georgia. I was being honored down there. And my daughter, who I talked about, was with me, because several of my family members attended. And she had met the governor at that event. And I said, Governor, do you remember meeting my young daughter, Abby, at this event? He said, oh, yes. What a lovely young girl. I enjoyed meeting her. I said, Governor, that was one of her friends that died. And the conversation just stopped. And he said, I get it. And they did not give us the tax credit because the NRA took control of it. And I said, we're not moving. The next year, the state legislator said, okay, we have a change of heart. We're going to give you the tax credit because you did the right thing. When you do the right thing, it's also the smart thing, and that's how you make a difference in life.
You make me a proud almost million miler.
Thank you.
You really do. So you mentioned fuel. You're in the airline industry, and we know we talk a lot about fossil fuels and the challenges with that and how it's affecting our climate. How are you thinking about that big topic?
Yeah, well, it's the most difficult topic we face. It's the existential topic for our industry, because 98% of our footprint
environmental footprint comes from fossil fuel. And there is no replacement for jet fuel. There's no economic replacement. Right now, if you were to take all the biofuels that exist in the world, it'd be enough for us, and gave it all to Delta, just one airline, it'd be enough for us to fuel our planes for one day. That's how small the progress has been on that topic. So what we have to do is we have to work hard on that issue, and we have to find opportunities for people to join us in that coalition. We're working with the energy companies, we're working with states for tax incentives, we're working with the federal government, we're working with communities that want to make a difference. We've got a wonderful project going on in the state of Minnesota. It's called the Minneapolis Fuel Hub, where there's a refinery. It's a big hub of ours. There's a refinery that's near the hub. A tremendous amount of heartland and feedstock that exist in that region because biofuels don't transit. They don't travel very far. You gotta consume them close to where you refine them. We have an energy company working with us. We have Cargill, the big food producer, working with us. And we have a goal that in the next 10 years, 50%, half of the entire fuel used and consumed in Minneapolis, it's a big hub of ours, will be bio, will be sustainable. And if we can pull that off, we have customers involved, if we can pull that off, that's gonna be a major milestone for us in terms of taking this challenge happen. Because we gotta continue to find new ways and new pathways because the biofuels today are 3 to 5 times the cost of a gallon of jet fuel. And so not only does it not exist, it's so high, and the energy companies want to put the research and the development behind it, but they don't know where it's gonna go. They don't know if they're gonna have a customer, because these airlines are not, we're not banks. We don't have the money to be investing in this R&D ourselves. We need government. So it's really a coalition of the willing. But I'm confident we're gonna get there. It's just gonna take us a long time, because we do not want to have people have to make the choice between seeing the world and saving the world. We need to do both. That's the power of the end. We talk so much on the sustainability issue about how important it is to find solutions. It's also so important for people to be out in the world, because you see from the societal goodness that occurs when we're traveling and we're together. That's also where the value of life and human respect and dignity also exist, and that's where difference gets deployed. So we don't have a choice. We have to solve this together.
And can you tell us a little bit more about, you mentioned the people that you are working with to try to solve this. What is it like around the table with the other airline CEOs? Are you all coming together to talk about these issues too?
We are, but none of us, we're the consumers but we're not the producers of it, right? So there's not a lot that we can all do. So everyone's trying to find ways to invest. It's not a competitive issue. This is not something that we compete at. We don't compete on safety. We don't compete on sustainability. These are things as an industry, we got to work together to find good solutions.
So we know that these days climate change is a big topic. Another topic is DEI.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. And I have to say, I was doing what I shouldn't do at night, which was scrolling through Instagram, and I should have been in bed, and I have bad habits on that. Can you tell us what one of your bad habits is while we're on that topic, since I just was vulnerable and shared with everybody? What's one of yours?
That's okay. You're good. You're doing good.
Okay, good. So
Just gonna suck me into that.
I'm just wondering, if you'd be
that
like.
path?
And then I see on Instagram Ludacris, and he's having a concert, and it's up there. That's what I see in my evening scrolling, and it was a staff appreciation something concert that Ludacris did with team. Come on, and you're in Atlanta, one of the most diverse cities,
right.
And DEI has been under attack, and there's so much. Tell us how you've been thinking about that topic. Sure. And addressing many of the challenges.
Well, let me first describe why we're doing a concert with Ludacris, right? It's not my day job, right? I tell you, I get out. One of the things that's beautiful about Delta is that our people work hard and we share the success together. And we've been through challenging times. We've been through a bankruptcy in 2005. And coming out of that, we committed to our people that 15% of the profits of the company would go to the employees forevermore. And the management of the company does not participate, it's just the employees of the company, 15%. And it was easy to say at that time, we weren't making any money. So people say, that's okay, where am I gonna do with that IOU? But eventually, a couple years later, we were profitable. And I think we paid out maybe $50 million, and the next year, maybe $100 million. And we got up to the pandemic. The last thing we recall, just before the pandemic hit, our profitability got pretty high. We paid out $1.6 billion to our people. It was like 17% of their annual pay to our people. And that's a party. That's a party when you pay $1.7 billion out. And then the pandemic hit us, and obviously we didn't pay for a couple of years, and now we're back and doing well. And this past Valentine's Day, we paid $1.4 billion. I don't know any profit sharing scheme in any industry and any place that's anywhere close to that. But the reason it's so important, because it, again, ties the values of the company together. It puts the people at the center. The work, the success yields also the returns. And I want them to have the first returns. And whenever we bring new people in and we talk about it, they always want to know, how can we make it bigger? So we make it bigger by doing a better job and serving more customers and growing the airline. And so we have a huge day of celebration. In Atlanta, I think I attend 15 parties that day from morning through the evening. And one of the things we did just for our people out on the ramp is, we had a big event on the ramp, just celebrating, and there's food and people coming by and everyone's real happy. Well, the Super Bowl had just been a couple days earlier. And Ludacris is a friend, and he's an Atlanta kid. And we got him to come, and he just popped on stage. We had a stage built, and we surprised everyone, and we did a live concert on the Atlanta ramp while there's planes going by, and there's airlines taxiing, people, what's going on over there? And you can see from that, there were a lot of people out that day. So they didn't know that was happening. That was all total surprise. And I don't know how well we did delivering bags that day, but we had a lot of fun.
I don't know how many of you have met a CEO who's like, yeah, Luda is a friend, and he just chopped on and did this thing, and earlier you were talking about do-gooders on the side, sometimes doing good on the side, but what you've shown is that you can indeed do a lot of good within.
Absolutely.
And one initiative that I was really excited to hear about is the 110 initiative. Could you tell more about what it is, and Delta being the lead in that?
In the aftermath of George Floyd, I think a lot of corporate leaders were struggling to figure out how could we get here? How have we returned to this place? And all the work that's been going on, it's not having the impact, at least with the communities we need to, particularly the Black and brown communities that we serve. And Ken Frazier, who's one of the prior recipients who I saw, and he's also a friend, and Ken Chenault, former CEO of American Express, got together and they said, because we were talking, there was a group of us talking on a phone, so what can we do? And Ken said, well, why don't we decide that we're going to do something to make a difference? Not allocate it to a division of the company or the philanthropic arm of the company, that we own it. Because I'm a firm believer that the leaders of our corporations in society today have the tools, they have the resources, they decide what gets funded, they hire people. This is our job. It's not someone else's job to do. This is our job to create and make this change happen. And we all signed up that by the end of this decade, we would create 1 million new jobs collectively that are life-changing, sustainable for Black Americans, not just principally, directly, without traditional degrees or traditional backgrounds. And that we would find a way to make change happen in each of our companies, in our communities, to get that. And we're on the path. I think we're about 20% of the way there after the first couple of years, and it's gaining momentum. And we've had probably 60 or 70 companies, big companies have joined us on that. And it's ranged from how we've changed the skill. Now, it's all great that you're here at Columbia, and it's an amazing institution. But there's many people that can't get into Columbia. There's many people that can't get to school, period. They couldn't afford, they started working when they were 14 years old and never had the opportunity, but they have life skills. They understand what it's like to make a difference. They understand what it is to kind of be creative. And how do you pull that group with you? And how do you get them out of the communities where they tend to live, which are disadvantaged, and give them a hand up, not a handout? And that's what we're trying to do here. So one of the things we did at Delta is we took off the hiring spec, a traditional 4-year education, off of almost all of our jobs, including pilots, by the way. There's very few jobs. In fact, it shouldn't even be my job, because I don't know, I can't remember what I learned in college. I mean, there's very few jobs that you really need a 4-year degree. And that's the screen, that's a blocker, that's an obstacle that people can't get to. You automatically segregate out a significant part of our population, particularly the Black population in our country, by putting in something that, well, it's been there forever. And so we've eliminated that. And we've done apprenticeships, and we've done reaching out. We've at Delta, we've been able to bring thousands of people up the ladder of opportunity. And we started on the ramp, but they're now working in knowledge working jobs because they understand how the business works on the ground floor.
And you saying that reminds me of just how people are thinking about AI and the fears of AI replacing critical jobs and things like that. How are you thinking about generative AI? And I also think about AI from the standpoint of the customer service arm of things, which we all don't like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So tell us more about.
Well, AI, we've been doing AI for a long time, and it just wasn't, it's now the buzzword, but we operate 5,000 flights a day. We sell them 300 days out into the year. Our planes operate in all kinds of conditions and weather, and and a lot of challenges. So we have huge operational constraints and challenges and optimization, and OR research is a big part of what we do to be the best performing airline. We use a lot of predictive engineering and technologies and a lot of tools. AI, I think, can take it to the next level. Generative AI can take it to the next level. But I prefer to call it augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. We have a lot of artificial intelligence in this world. They're a bunch of blowhards. People that say they know that's truly artificial. We need real intelligence, right? We need people with real skills and real thought leadership, and we need to supplement that with the human touch. You can never replace the human element. I'm not a believer that there's going to be drones and bots and we're going to be living in their world. We all tried that, by the way, during COVID, the virtual existence. It wasn't a lot of fun. We're back where the spirit needs to be together. And so where I see it going in my business is we're using it to try to figure out how those 5,000 flights, all the information that's out there, how can we every day get better at it in terms of being more predictive as to what's going to happen with whether it's weather, whether it's turbulence in the sky, whether it's operational efficiencies that you can garner because we have tight infrastructure in our business. I look at it in our pricing engines, in our revenue management systems as to how can we take into all these factors to what people really willing to pay versus what we offer them. And there's big gaps because travel really is priceless. I mean, it's hard to put a value on it. And while we do great work and travel is expensive, it means different things to different people. And you don't want, and you want to make sure you're getting the right value for what people see travel being worth. And I think generative AI can play a big hand there. I think it can play a big hand in customer service in terms of our reservation team having to sift through all these catalogs of information. And somebody asks if can I carry three bags to this destination at this time, along with my pet cat. And I mean, it's like, how do you? I don't know. It's like, but you can mouth that. You can speak that into the system, and they can give you an answer in 3 seconds. We already have that technique, and we're deploying that today. So I think it's going to help us to enhance the service level, but never ever replace the human the human judgment.
We're all going to borrow that augmented intelligence. Before we move to questions, first I wanted to share another thing I learned about you, which does speak to the importance of the human side of things. I asked somebody how they've changed as a result of your leadership, and they said, under Ed's leadership, I've learned to value power and influence in new ways. I believe wasted or misused power is often worse than no power. I love that Ed doesn't waste his influence. Therefore, I've learned not to waste mine. So with that, and we can tell from all the things you've talked about that you do not waste your power and influence. But before Q&A, I was curious about what your proudest moment as CEO of Delta has been.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them. Gosh, I would say the proudest thing that was accomplished under my tenure. I still have a number of years to go. I'm not. This is not a swan song.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. Was the fact that we went through COVID and we did not furlough a single employee. I mean, that's when our revenues went away. They did worse than went away. I mean, we were paying refunds back. We were losing the first 90 days of COVID. We lost $100 million a day in cash every day for 90 days. $10 billion in the first 90 days we lost in cash. And I had this crazy thought that, because I was doing video calls with our teams and our people almost every day. And I said, I would love to figure out a way that we could get through this without having to furlough. Because I was doing it to condition people that we may have to. And we've had to do it in the past when we've had big difficult moments. And I just wanted to do it differently. Because I think we could do, I told them, I think we can do it without, but I'm going to need everybody's help in making that happen. And so people were all thumbs up, yes, let's try to do it. And it ties back to the profit sharing. We had just a month earlier paid $1.6 billion, in profit sharing to our people. So I knew they had cash. They didn't go and spend all that money. There's a lot of, and so I asked our people that if we could all look at taking time off without pay, not furlough, and it's all voluntary, but because I know there are employees that can't afford to take the time off, they had to work, and we had to fly right through the pandemic. But I knew that we had opportunities for people to step aside. We had 50,000 people volunteer to take up to 2 years off without pay. We kept their benefits in place, and we gave them some travel benefits. And we got our company cut in half overnight almost. And then on top of that, we offered early retirement to some of our more senior people, and we had almost 20,000 people take that. So we went from 100,000 people down to like 30,000 working people in a matter of months. And then the bleeding stopped at that point. But we did it ourselves. We didn't do it, yes, we had government support to keep our people in place initially, but that was only for a short period of time. We did it ourselves. We did not have to, all the other airlines went through, unfortunately, big furloughs. We said, we're going to do it differently because we're going to lean into our values and our culture and lean on each other. And people, again, still remember that to this day about why we have that family bond that we talk about.
That arm shot right up. But hold on. Oh, wait, sorry. We have one first, and then we see that. One of my former students. Share with us.
No, really, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights and experiences. My name's Ravi. I'm a first year here, and I actually worked at American and JetBlue for the past 6 years, and definitely consider myself an av geek and a proud Sky Miles member, but not quite a million miler like Professor Akinola. But I've always admired Delta's focus on the customer experience, and the modifications to the Sky Miles program first made in September of last year, and then the changes made in October particularly stood out to me as a great example of soliciting and executing customer feedback. So I was hoping you could please share some of the leadership strategies and techniques you used to revamp that program based on that customer input in such a short time frame, especially leading such a large organization. And then additionally, just interested in learning how you supported your team, throughout that whole process.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
this is Ravi? What Ravi's referring to, for those that don't know, is that in the fall, we had announced a change as to how people got status going forward and changing the loyalty schemes a bit. And it went over like a lead balloon. And that's putting it kindly. And it was a issue where the company has been quite successful. It's been very popular. It's a premium brand, had more and more premium demand for its assets than our ability to supply the experience. So whether it's our clubs, whether it's our reservation lines, whether it's our first class, whether it's our upgrades, everything was under a lot of stress because Delta as a premium brand was growing fast. And we said we had to figure out a way that we could either, if we didn't stop, we were just going to dilute the experience for everybody. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to have, maintain that premium status. And we spent a lot of time. We have a very close relationship with American Express also, who was involved in this. And we decided that we are going to do it in a way that kind of went right to the issue, rather than kind of spend time working your way to get to the issue. And I think our team got quite aggressive in terms of announcing some changes in status. And by the way, anyone who's got status with us, immediately kind of email me, and they find me very easily. And they wrote these incredibly heartfelt letters about how hard this is for them. And I knew it was going to be hard, and I appreciated that. But what I didn't fully grasp is the significance of the affection for the company itself, for the people of the company, the loyalty. And they all said, yeah, we see you've got an issue, but don't break my heart that I'm going to have to break up with you. It's like breakup letters you were getting. And I got a lot of those. And and I read many of them. And I was already kind of a bit anxious about it to begin with. And so within the first week of announcing it, I said, wait, this isn't working. And I said, sorry guys, you may have spent 2 years working on this project, which they had, but being the CEO, I'm gonna exercise my veto and say, no, we're not doing that. And we're going to come back. And we made some pretty significant modifications, which still got much of the effect we were trying to, but doing it in a gentler way. And then also letting people know that this is what we're going to work different ways to address the situation. But we did not give people enough notice about we surprised people. Anytime you surprise people, I find in life, it's generally not a good thing. Even people's birthday parties, like they hate it, right? I mean, surprises are not. Sometimes it's cool, but most times it's not. And especially when you do it with all your loyal customers at once, that was not good. That was not good. But people gave us credit for listening and making the change. And because a lot of companies would just put their head down and just kind of keep going and say, well, we're just going to have to sustain this. I couldn't do that.
Hi, Ed. My name is Bill, a second-year MBA student. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Bill.
First off, I'm a big Delta fan. It's my go-to airline.
Thank you.
And I think one of the main reasons for that is the premium cabin experience. Not the premium, but the overall experience, with the seat back displays, the brand new LaGuardia Airport terminal. And I wanted to understand what exactly was driving that strategy, as a lot of airlines are pivoting to low-cost models. You're going towards a premium model, and especially after COVID with business travel having an impact, how is that strategy continuing? And how are you thinking of that going forward?
Well, thank you for that. This goes back probably 15 years. Delta had bought Northwest in 2010 and merged the companies. And at that point in time, the airline industry, the number one thing that customers chose airlines around was price. What was the lowest cost?
Not even what was the most convenient routing or what loyalty plan they had. It was cost. And because there were 10 big airlines in our country and they were all competing, and it wasn't sustainable. And that's why the airlines went through bankruptcy and had some pretty tortured histories. Uh, we bought Northwest and said, we need to do this differently. We need to make certain that we can provide an experience that customers are willing to pay a premium to experience, which means that you've got to have, first of all, a reliable service that people can count on. The quality of the experience, the service level has to be top shelf, and that takes a while to build. That means, making sure your flights are on time, your bags are there, cancellations are extremely rare. That Delta experience, but that's table stakes, that's bedrock. And that took us about 5 or 6 years to build that level and for people to actually see it. We had built it, but it took us several years where people started giving us credit for it. And it's okay, you've got it. And then on top of that, you start building the premium elements, whether it's the clubs, whether it's the new airports, whether it's the new free fast Wi-Fi on our planes that's available to all, whether it's the premium ones, Delta One seating, or even Comfort Plus, or even the work that we're doing, with our flight attendants to make certain that every customer has a great experience and feels welcomed as they're on board with us. There's a whole ecosystem that is part of. And so if you really feel, and your app, of course, and making that app sticky. By the way, if I were to ask you who are the top 5 e-tailers in the country, I doubt you'd say Delta is one of the top 5. Delta is one of the top 5. Delta's number 5. And that includes Apple, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, and then Delta. 5th largest retailer in the country because of the technology, which again is a premium experience, the app putting the control in our customers' hands and making that sticky. So you put that all together, you got to go with that strategy. And by the way, when COVID hit, it just allowed us to accelerate because we got LaGuardia done faster. We got the free Wi-Fi done faster. We got we moved our technology stack to the cloud with AWS all through COVID. And so we're coming out of this stronger with a higher premium bent than ever before. And yes, there's always going to be a customer segment that's always going to choose low cost, and they're value conscious, and that's okay. And that's a good part. But that business model is pretty ruptured, as you say. And the people, because if you're a value airline right now, low value airline in terms of price, the cost to entry have gone up. Labor's gone up, fuel's up, airplane costs have gone up, maintenance has gone up, supply chain has gone up. It's hard to serve that need. We're actually going right to where customers can pay and afford, the higher level of service that we offer. And that's the point of differentiation, and that's why our brand is doing as well as it is. Yes?
Thank you for such a candid and warm conversation this evening. I'm Frida. I'm a commercial pilot turned corporate aviation personnel now. Worked for Etihad and Honeywell. My question to you is, Delta leads in, and it's the best places to work for women. What advice would you give to other leaders in the industry to champion women in the workforce? And on the flip side, Delta has only 5% of commercial pilots. What is Delta doing to increase that number?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. That's a great question. I think I'll answer the last part of your question first in terms of women pilots. I mean, we're investing heavily in development programs for women who want to become pilots, starting, by the way, with our own company. We have a lot of our flight attendants, a lot of agents, different individuals who they came to aviation with a dream to fly, not knowing how to get there, so they started working in a different job, whether it's handling bags or working the gates or becoming a flight attendant, and then figuring out how to start to build flight hours and start to get seen and noticed. In the last 5 years, we've created a program that's called Propel, which takes those individuals from within the company that come from non-traditional backgrounds that are building hours, and we provide assistance, we provide mentorship, we provide support, we provide pathways, and they actually get a line pilot assigned to them as a mentor, to help them through. Every day they can call and ask them for the encouragement and the support. And those classes are starting to mature, and they're going to start to be graduating here pretty soon, because it takes a lot of hours. It takes several thousand hours to get on with Delta. It's not easy, because we want to make sure we're hiring the best of the best of the best in terms of experience and talent. Personally, I always say I always feel better when I see a woman in the cockpit. I just know that the level of attention, the meticulous, the attention to detail is incredible, and the focus on delivering a great experience that our women pilots provide. We're somewhere between, I'd say, 6 to 8% of our population today is women in the cockpits. But I also look at every class that's going in, and we have hiring classes every month. 10 to 12% of the people in those classes are coming as women. So we're making change happen, but this is a long journey through. We're also doing the same thing with people of color in the cockpit, where we also have programs and opportunities to continue to accelerate. Within the company broadly, we have, I'd say, about 35 to 40% of the top 100 people, the top 100 officers of the company are female. That number 7 years ago was 15%. And now it's over a third, 35% or so. And it's moving closer to that number. On the topic of D&I, you asked me DI questions and how we're doing that on inclusiveness. I tell our team, we are never going to be done with our work until the face of our team, our management team, our personnel broadly, reflect the face of our customers. And all you have to do is walk on our planes and you see people of all colors and shapes and sizes and backgrounds and ethnicity and gender. That's who I want us to be, because that's how we can serve them best. That means we know them best. As a white male, it's really hard for me to understand kind of where this company's going, the country's going on a lot of that. I depend on different points of view, people that look different from me, to tell me the things I don't know.
You have the mic, yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Yes, no?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jitesh, second year EMBA student. My question to you is, so I'm a member of the blue logo airline, I won't say the name, and that is not out of choice. And my question is, do you see the Fortress hub model being challenged in the near future? The reason is because the reason I'm part of that airline club is because of the accessibility. So I go to a certain airport and that airline dominates the airport.
Right.
And I'm sure Delta has that Fortress hub model at certain airports as well.
Right.
Do you see that being challenged in the near future, the model?
I would love to, but those hubs have been built over many decades of investment and development. And you're talking about a hub across the river. I know what you're talking about, if you live over there, I know it's hard to cross two bridges, to come over to Delta territory. So I get it. But whenever you can, we do have an operation there. It's small but growing. Check us out. But the hub markets are critical for scale and investment and ability to continue to grow your business. And we're now at both LaGuardia and JFK. We're number one by large measure in both. We have about half of LaGuardia is Delta, and about 40% of JFK is Delta right now. So we serve New York well. I know I want to serve all of New York, but that's to come.
Now, I know there are tons more questions. You can just email him. I want to make sure that he has time for the rest of his life. So I wanted to end with a special way we typically end these Botwinick Prizes, which is through a lightning round. So I'm just going to give you two choices of things, and you need to tell us which you prefer, okay?
Okay.
Or what you are. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits.
Favorite vacation destination, mountains or beach?
Both.
I said either or, I'll allow that.
I'm an airline executive.
I'll allow that. Okay, fine.
I would say beach.
Okay.
But I love the mountains.
LaGuardia or JFK?
Ooh, I can't. I love all my kids.
Sun chips on the plane, so the salty, or Biscoffs?
Biscoff,
Movie on the plane or work?
work. Not by choice.
Exactly. Look, that was my last one for you, but what I can say after our time together is we are so grateful that you have spent this time with us. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for uplifting us. Thank you for letting us see that leadership is really about the heart and values, people, and culture, and you have embodied all that, which is why you won this prize, but we really fully understand that even more now. And especially we appreciate that you know Luda. So thank you for
Well,
being here.
thank you for honoring. Thank you. I really have tremendous respect for this institution growing up here and knowing what Columbia stands for and the talent and the minds that come here to learn and grow and impact the world and our society as well. And being from New York and having an award from New York meant a lot to me personally. But I tell all of you, and all of you are aspiring business leaders and will be the business leaders of tomorrow. Just enjoy the experience. I mean, there's so much about leadership that it's hard, it's challenging, it can be exhausting at times, but can also be the most energizing thing you've ever done in terms of how you approach it, if you take your people with you. It's all about taking your people with you on the journey. There's a famous saying I find funny that leadership is can be lonely. It's lonely at the top. If you're lonely at the top, you're a bad leader. Okay, that's not leadership. That's kind of someone that's not following you. And we are at Delta particularly a team of teams, and we love teamwork, we love collaboration, we love partnership, because it's about making something happen together. And having that as part of your own legacies and what you look for in the jobs you work, that's the most important thing I can impart with you. Kind of do something that matters, that you care about, and do it with others that you love. And you'll have a wonderful career wherever your path takes you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you to the Botwinick Wolfenson family, and thank you to all of you for being here with us tonight.